Have you-
Where's the village?
Morning all, welcome to the joint Park O and M mid-committee meeting.
Just inject, I guess. Inject diamond.
Order agenda,
That's not worth it.
approve the minutes of the prior meeting. What do we all get? We got a number now.
Jackson alternate is back there, if you want.
Mr. Diamond can come up to serve.
Off the diamond, sit here and fill in. Well, sure, yeah.
Wild dog. Wild dog.
It means I can leave.
No.
KG? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, now we'll call the meeting to order. I need a motion to approve the minutes, the prior meeting. Mr. Weil, Mr. Pacino,
Sure.
questions, all in favor? Both pass. Open to privilege of the floor. Anybody in? Questions who would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on. Action agenda. Go ahead, festival space.
So, well, there's no action agenda or new business items, but there are discussion items. First one on there is the schedule for festival space. The same schedule that the mayor handed out last meeting hasn't changed. There's no updates to it. So I know they're still working on filling in some of the openings that we have. Maybe I think there's one in July, maybe one in August, and a couple in September. So I think they're looking to fill some of those openings. So stay tuned. When I get the updates, I will add them to the next agenda. Damage to the festival space. So as you all are well aware of, we had a barricade there several weeks ago now, around Memorial Day, and then we had shortly after that, a week later, we had the tow truck company come in. This goes back to something that I discussed at one of our previous meetings, is having the staff availability on site to direct vehicles around the site so that they're not causing the damage. I think we spent well over $5,000 or $6,000, which we have in the deferred revenue for the space to do the damage repairs that were caused. Now, I'm not necessarily blaming Americade and or the tow truck company. We have had significant rain every single weekend. In fact, I thought this was going to be the first weekend we didn't have rain, and sure enough, we had it on Sunday morning. So that site, as most of you are aware, when we built it, is built on a swamp. It's the water table up down there is very high. The grass that we had put in when the project was originally established, the soil was amended soil that had fibers in it. What would have taken place was those amended fibers would have adhered to the roots from our grass system. But shortly after we got the project done, events started to come in there. The site probably has never gotten a break from events, and that soil, the amended soil that was supposed to tie in those fibers to the grassroots, probably never happened. And that was to strengthen the sod to be able to allow parking on it. Since then, whether it was ice castles or any other events that have been in there, the skating rink, all that has done some type of damage that we've had to do repairs. Now, we've always been able to pay for those repairs out of deferred revenue, which is fine. But it's a significant amount of work for my staff to stop doing some of our other projects to go and repair the festival space to get it up to par for the next event that comes in there. So again, I think between whether we want to do a different intermunicipal agreement with the village, but I think we need more staff. And I will divert to Chairman Merlino, because I think he said when the Adirondack Wine and Food Festival comes in this weekend, which again, we're looking at rain, he's going to be down there as the security guard to assist in directing traffic around the site.
the thing that I like to say, and I'm not picking on Kevin, people that are in charge of this festival space that get money to their town for it, we don't see them there.
Village.
The village, it's the village, I'm sorry. We don't see them there. And it's got to a point, which I'm gonna be there Thursday morning. I already told Sasha, that's a big one coming in. There's nothing going in there bigger than a pickup truck. Because what happens, they go in there with these tractor trailers, they can't make the turn, how many people really walk that track? So that what they do have to back up, and they back up on the wet grass and stuff, and
Right.
we have to go back in and spend money. And I believe, I'm not gonna be here next year, but I believe whoever's in this position has to be firm. You gotta keep these tow truck operators. They're great events, people come to see them, but it's cheaper for us to put them on the roadway and lose the parking meter, of course, than to have to fix all the damage that these places make. So there's only just suggestions for next year.
Yeah.
I just want to add on, it's not, and I don't want to single out tow truck company that the tow truck event that came in, because it was not just them.
Yeah. More.
Americade brings tractor trailers in there for their vendors, and then when they pull across the grass, they do the damage as well. You know, certainly, and I will liken this to when we do the Adirondack Balloon Festival at the airport. There's many times that Mark Donahue comes to me and asks me to park on the grass. Says, why can't we just add more parking onto the airport? Let them park on the grass. If we have any amount of rain at that airport during a balloon fest, they cause a significant amount of damage. And then it's not just the turf that we have to contend with. They drag the soil onto the runway. We can't have what they call FOD on the runway. That cannot be on there. And then they don't see any of our taxiway lights or runway lights, and they run them over. So I've always asked that unless we have significantly dry weather, I've always stated that we will not put cars on the grass. And the fact of the matter is for the airport, for example, everybody who's been there on a Saturday night, you know how difficult it is to get out of the airport. But with that being said, it's no different than down here. If we have a wet season or a wet couple days before somebody comes to use the space, we need to rethink how they use the space and where we put vehicles, or because it causes too much damage.
And sorry.
I just wanted, something that really can't be lost on this, I think, and Kevin mentioned it, but the money is in deferred revenue to pay for the repairs for the grounds. It's not there to pay for his workers. I was down there last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, 8 of our DPW guys down there repairing the grounds from the tow, after the tow truck thing left. That's also projects he's pulling people off of, so then the workload backs up as well. So that's the biggest thing, is having to pull our people off work every time there's an event to fix the, Wood Park back up.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's why my speech today is, we have to come up with something starting in January. Somebody has to be there. Let's say 9 o'clock in the morning when the things come in, and stop these tractor trailers from going in. If nobody's there, they just go right in. By the time they make their turns around there, we lose 4 or 5 feet here, 7 feet here. And it costs us a lot. We had a lot of wet weather, I understand. We've been pretty lucky over the years, but we've got to have somebody in control at that festival space to guide. And that's what I'm going to try to do Thursday morning when she has a wine and beer festival. She knows I'm going to be there. Because as long as I don't get shot, there's going to be no tractor trailers on that festival space.
So where will they,
They could park on the road and carry their stuff in, because
they're gonna park on the road, they're gonna park on
right,
Westbrook.
unload
Betty
and then
Little.
move and park someplace else, but we can't have them in there. The turn is not, if you've been and walked around that thing, the turn is not enough. It's good enough for a pickup truck.
Yeah.
A tractor trailer goes in, by the time it doesn't get all the way around, they have to back up a little bit, and it goes on the grass on this side and puts those ruts in. We have the pictures of it from last time. And I think we gotta be a little tougher. I'm sorry, that's how I feel.
I mean, every event has some impact on those grounds, right? It's just. And we're equipped and ready to take care of those. It's the ones that go past that. The tow trucks were. It was wet weather and loaded with tow truck. It was a mess, but it was a
I
perfect
think the
bad
tow truck could be
situation.
out on the road. We might lose parking meters. I understand the revenue, but that revenue is not gonna make up the
Yeah.
damage that these.
And you
guys
gotta
have.
announce that ahead of time because there'll be cars on that road and gotta figure out how to move.
That's
it.
the next year. I'm just bringing
Yeah.
something up that we had the problems this year.
So I'll add on is in a lot of the events like Americade will rent both the parking lot and which is out in front of the festival space and the festival space. But for something like that, as Gene said, if we determine that the grounds, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but I want us to, kind of put our heads together. Maybe I'll just come up with some solutions and bring them back to the committee. But if we do call an audible on the field that day and say that they can't use the festival space because of wet, or they can't park certain vehicles in there, then we'll have to move them to the parking lot, then we will lose the revenue from the parking meters on those days.
And I think the parking meeting revenues for what, especially with the last problem we had. I mean, I have all the pictures. I don't think I have them with me. The damage was unbelievable, but it was big trucks.
Yeah, it
Once
got
they're in
beat
there,
up
they
with
can't
tow
make the
trucks. That was-
turn.
yeah, But it was raining.
Back up,
heavy
when they
and-
back up 5 or 6 feet onto the grass, you got the double tire width that has to be resodded.
And I don't want to further, but as John said, my guys, it's their time to go out there, and that's not what I budget for them to go out and do that. Most of that work is supposed to be done by the village. Certainly the deferred revenue, if the village did any of the work, certainly there is funding in there for them to do that work. That's what the deferred revenue, just so you're all aware, is not just for maintenance and upkeep of the park. It's also for the south parcel, which is the environmental park on the other side of Westbrook. That was to be maintained with that deferred revenue as well. And there's an added cost to that every year, whether we go down and do work, Soil and Water goes down and does work. The LGA goes over and does work. It doesn't matter. We pay for those costs as well out of that deferred revenue.
Ray's on his way down, by the way, so.
Mr. Watt?
Chairman,
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken, this festival this weekend has food trucks
Yeah.
and trailers.
Yeah.
So to move them outside will be a significant impact
Yeah.
to the way this operation works, because you can't get into the festival space without having a ticket or whatever they give everybody to show that they paid their entry fee. So I'm just curious,
So
if
I'll-
we're prepared for that.
I know Gene said pickup truck. A little bit bigger than a pickup truck can come in there. It's the tractor trailers, and nobody at the Adirondack Food Festival has tractor trailers.
yeah,
So
we're
with
gonna
their,
watch them.
and they're set up on the site where they'll come in with their vehicle. And typically they'll pull their trailers off and then they'll pull their vehicles back out again.
Yeah.
We don't have an issue with that. And I think we can assist them. But Gene might be assisting them. in doing
I
that.
will.
But that we can handle. It's the tractor trailers and the larger vehicles we cannot handle.
Are you gonna allow the trucks to stay connected, the pickup trucks, or you're gonna have, make them all disconnect with the
Just-
truck?
I think.
I mean, that's-
I think they do disconnect.
Every one of them.
I
Yeah.
think they do.
I try to just.
We can certainly talk to Sasha on Thursday morning and check with her.
Yeah, well, we're just trying to get.
No,
it
I
so we
get
don't
it.
Have the
Yeah, yeah.
damage,
It's- yeah,
especially
you're
if
gonna
it
have a busy
rains
day.
tomorrow or Friday, the damage
Yeah.
that we just fixed it
I
2
get it.
weeks ago. And just try to control it a little more because
Yeah.
we have nobody there and I don't blame anybody.
Right.
We don't have anybody there that say, hey, whoa, that's too big to get in here. And let them make other arrangements. Once they start going in and the tractor trailers back up, nobody's controlling. And I'm gonna try to do that Thursday with Sasha's event. She knows I'm gonna be there. And just try to keep the damage down. Cause it just can't keep repairing that festival space. Now, if you walk around the edges, and I did the other day, the sprinklers are almost out at the edge of the road where we had to put, so now that the sprinklers go on and all puddles of water go there, truck goes there, poop, the grass is gone. So it's just something that needs to be attention to.
Yep.
And guidance a little.
Yeah,
People that get paid to take care of that place, should have somebody there. And I believe that, because once you don't have any control over it, everybody runs in and out, backs up here, and if I have to be a policeman, I will, but we'll see what it does. When I went over there to see after the tow truck, it was, and I have all the pictures, terrible,
yeah, it was bad.
terrible. And it was, yes, we had a busy spring, with rain and stuff, and I understand that. But if you don't have people telling those drivers, Watch out when you go around to the left. Make sure you got enough room. Don't have to back up. And once they back up, they're on the grass. That's all just trying to, for next year, we should have a little better control of who goes in and out of that festival space.
Sense.
So the damage correspondence from
Last,
Charlie Wood.
yeah, the last item on there is the mayor had submitted the plans for the Pappy's Playground, the conceptual plans that we had. The Wood Foundation had responded back saying they were interested. They also had posed us looking at several other grant funding opportunities. They didn't tell us no. They'd certainly be interested in funding maybe a portion of that or maybe all of that, but stay tuned for that. We'll find out.
He's gonna be walking in any second, so you can comment on that. I think he wants to.
Okay.
All right, you want to wait for his to show up?
Yeah, I mean, you want to hear from him? Not,
Well, we should.
he's the one that's late.
We're already
He's
running over.
walking up the steps.
All right, well, then we'll move on. Privilege of the floor. Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question.
Yes.
If I understand what you're saying correctly, we are funding this particular activity up there. And if I understand what you're saying, there's nobody there to represent us to kind of control the activity. Is that correct?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We're paying. We're actually paying them hard money. But wouldn't it make sense that we have an agreement in place in advance that there is a person?
Well, that's why I'm
in
bringing it up now,
attendance
so that they get
deal
ready
with
for
this, so-
next year.
Our supervisors don't have to go up there
Morning, Mayor.
immediately on their own and have to address this issue. You never know what you may run into up there with people, you know, that may be asking questions like, who are you? What rights do you have? What
Understand.
authority do you have? You could get jammed up pretty easy up there trying to kind of control something that we're already paying for to be handled.
You,
So I'll answer your question to some degree. So the county, yes, in a roundabout way, is paying the village for the maintenance work to be done up there, as well as attendance for any events. The money gets paid for out of deferred revenue. So whatever revenue is brought in for the park, that's the money that gets, not all of it. I mean, there's a reserve that has that money in it, and that's what we pay the village to take care of. There is an intermunicipal agreement in place for maintenance and attendance at the events.
All right, Mr. Perry.
Sorry for my tardiness. I apologize.
Um,
Polls can't be predicted.
I'm bringing up some problems at the festivals.
Yes.
And I just don't feel that people that are getting paid to take care of that festival space are really supporting it like they should be. Okay, there's nobody there in the morning. Like Thursday, you have Sasha's Wine and Beer Festival, it's one of the biggest things there. There's nobody there to stand there and say, you can't go in with that big tractor trailer or this. There's nobody to help control it. I can't have DBW out there all the time. And so this year, we had a lot of problems because of the weather.
Yeah.
We've had many years where we didn't have problems, but we should have somebody there guiding in the morning that opens it up and kind of guides the people in and out, because you send a tractor trailer in there, not you, but goes in there. He don't care what he's doing. He's just in there to dump everything off. And then when he comes back, he don't care when he backs up on the lawn and makes the ruts. He's not there. He's there to drop stuff off and pick stuff up. And I really believe fully that somebody should be there just to keep an eye on it, because it's not DPW's job.
No, it's not. It's in unscheduled setup days, there is an attendant or two. And we're sure of that. On scheduled setup days, if, you know, someone comes in early, then that's on the festival organizer or the person holding the festival. Like Sasha wouldn't do that, but others have in the past, and on scheduled setup days, there is always someone there. Dave Goodsell usually, sometimes it's John
I
Helms.
respectfully disagree with you,
Okay.
especially like with the tow truck operators. There was nobody there to control them where they were driving on and off the grass and everything else.
Well, that's not entirely true. We did have an attendant there. and unfortunately watched them try to pull out. They pulled in, it was dry. When they left, there was 6 inches of water, so they still have to get out. It's not that there was no one there watching them. He couldn't do anything to prevent what happened. I mean, and Kevin will tell you the conditions of the ground were saturated. We can't just expect a 15,000-pound vehicle to stay there. They have to try to get out, and they did. They didn't, gun it and tear out of there. They left, in a slow fashion, but they just dug in to the mud.
I'll just add, Mayor, I filled him in on that, it is a swampy area. The fact is that if we get any rain, it's going to be soft. What Gene and I and discussed with the committee is that we have to look at different ways of maybe if somebody rents the festival space, but they don't rent the parking lot. That if the festival space is wet, then we say, that's fine, you can have foot traffic in there or some light vehicle traffic, but everybody else has to be in the parking lot. We discussed that maybe we will lose parking meter money, but at least we could move them. That's just one suggestion.
Mhm.
And that would in turn meaning if it was Dave or anybody else out there, that decision has to be made when the vehicles come in. And there may be a little bit of pushback from some of the organizers, but can we stand the pushback is to save the grounds? Because, and I think Sasha said it in her email that she sent to every board member, is the facility has certainly changed quite a bit since we first put it in. It doesn't even look the same anymore. So.
Agreed. I think, we had a meeting, I think it was August last year on site where we talked about either raising the level of the ground there to get it above the water table. The Gaslight Village was built on a swamp. It is a swamp. Unfortunately, that's how swamps behave when it rains for 60 days. I wouldn't put the blame on our attendant as much as, the conditions of the park being built on. I mean, it's 10 years now, we've been dealing with the same issues. It's wet. The craft fair that would come in doesn't come in anymore. But he tore up the grounds going in, setting up his tent over the car path. He was spoken to, he didn't do it again, but these issues do continuously come up because it's wet. It's at lake level.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to have a park in that condition, and it's expensive. It's difficult to rent it. I can't really say anything else. It's a tough terrain.
Yeah, the last thing I'll add is, I think it's, and I don't think the blame is cast on anybody. I think it's just, we need to take a different approach on what we do out there on the site. It's certainly, there's certainly some things that we're capable of doing to maybe prevent some of that stuff from happening. But as John said, the deferred revenue certainly pays for the maintenance work to be done. And I wanted to kind of step back a little bit. If there's any damage caused out there to any of the lamp posts or anything like that, that is covered by the deposits. We withhold the deposits, and I've withheld quite a few of them. We don't do that on the lawn damage because we've allowed them to park on the lawn. So I can't charge them for damage because of weather. But we do for any other damage they caught out there, which has been a light post and other areas that bollards, we have certainly charged them for those and held their deposits. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think the bottom line is we'll come up with some solutions as to, if it's a wet season or it's wet during an event, we'll have to kind of rethink what we do.
Yeah, and the fiber reinforcement has been pretty much decimated by the damage over the last 10 years. I mean,
Can you reinforce it again or not?
that would be a Kevin question. I
Not
don't think
unless you remove the sod completely. That means cutting out all the existing sod that's there and then reestablishing, but with that being said, you have to let it get established. And we've never let that happen since the park was built.
All right. All right, we're down to.
Mr. Chairman, just curious,
Yes, I'm sorry.
more for Kevin. Kevin, what if we just raised it up and put some sod? Not sod, I'm sorry, some
Artificial.
artificial turf.
We talked about
We
that.
talked about that. It's $1 million project, but it could be done. It's not that it couldn't be done. It's
Is
just
it that much?
Yeah, it's
It
what the
is.
pricing we got was
It is.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Now, we could use less of it and still maintain a permeable surface, but it does, I agree with you. I believe it does need to be raised because it is 20 inches above the lake level, I think is what we determine, is it?
It depends. Low water level, it's 3 feet above, but majority of the time it's probably 24 inches above the lake.
Raise a section of it maybe, that's where the bigger trucks would go or,
Yeah, maybe change
or
the
vendors.
surface. I mean, the great thing about as you know, AstroTurf or false turf is that it is impervious to damage, but it's very expensive and it's hot. It is not cool like earth does. It's very, very hot when the sun beats on it. So you might be adding or contributing to a problem that already exists. There's, when it's hot as heck out there.
$1 million is it's a non-starter. That's a lot.
It's
of
hard to
money.
stop.
That's yeah,
Take the green coloring out of it, just make it white.
exactly.
We brought up some points that should be discussed starting in January.
Yeah, I would suggest that we do a deep dive and really consider the use of the park or the potential changes to it, and a standalone meeting that we can set up.
Got anything else? No. All right, we went through the privilege of the floor, so motion to adjourn. Mr. Wild. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, we're,